What makes us actually buy? Have you ever thought about that? Well, there are numerous tactics brands use to get you pull out that credit card and buy that product. And most of us don't even realize why we buy that particular brand and not the competitor. We say things like, oh, I've been buying Tommy for ages. I just like the texture of it. Or I don't like the taste of Pepsi. Cola just seems right. Is it the real reason? Or there's an underlying reason which you didn't know. Let's take a scientific look. Although color is not the main driver of your purchase, it certainly has an effect on what you buy. Hamid and his colleagues published a paper in 2023 about color's impacts on people's buying behavior. They did their research on not so popular brands to create an equal playing field. 300 people attended, and what they found was conclusive. They found that when a customer sees color, they interact 42% more compared to a black and white branding, resulting in 85% of them making their buying decision based on purely on color. Is there a superior color that make people buy? Not really, because if there was, all of the brands will be using that color. According to Toka et al., the choice of color in branding depends on the emotions they want to evoke and associations they want to make with their target audience. There is no one true color for a brand. The effectiveness of the color is determined by the message it conveys and how it resonates with the intended customer. Orange for optimism, youth, and fun. Yellow for brightness, excitement. Green for health, environmental awareness. Blue for intellect, trust, and friendliness. Purple for elegance and luxury. Black for mystery, sophistication. White for purity, benevolence, and simplicity. Color is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to impacting purchase behavior. One of the most effective ways brands trigger you to buy their stuff is brand archetyping. I will explain what archetype means in a minute. Kenneth and colleagues conducted research aimed at exploring on how brands communicate and how this influences the consumer behavior. The way they did this research is they looked at the consumer stories, how they described the certain brands. What they found was really interesting. The most successful brand associations involved universal archetypes, and the unsuccessful brands did not have an archetype at all. What? Archetype is a very typical example of a person or a thing. It's like a stereotype. Every movie has those archetypes. Hero, villain, nerd, the rebel. Through its Just Do It campaigns, Nike embodies the hero archetype, and they use heroic brand ambassadors like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Cristiano Ronaldo to reinforce that heroic archetype. An anti-hero is also an archetype, which is universally known. Some heavy metal bands use this anti-hero archetype to create associations with their target audience. For instance, Metallica is a great example. There is a caveat. If the archetype is very regional and specific to one culture, those usually fail to go beyond one country. So how does all that affect buying behavior? Rebel archetype differentiates Harley-Davidson from all other motorcycles, attracting customers who resonate with nonconformity or rebellion. So if you're a person who likes motorcycles and you don't like the societal norms, there's a high likelihood you will go buy from Harley-Davidson and not their competitors. And after that buying behavior, your brain will come up with rational reasons why you chose Harley-Davidson. Do you remember the time when you did your homework on time and your mom cooked your favorite dish? Or do you remember the time when you came home so late your mom took your Game Boy away? Well, probably after that you decided to come home early and do your homework on time. These are punishments and rewards. Psychologist B.F. Skinner came up with a theory called operant conditioning based on two assumptions. First, the cause of human behavior is something of its environment. Second, the consequence of the behavior determines the possibility of its being repeated. Behaviors followed by a pleasant consequence are more likely to be repeated, and the behaviors followed by a negative consequence are less likely to be repeated. Through his experiments, Skinner identified three types of responses followed by human behavior. Neutral responses from the environment that produce no stimuli at all. This doesn't change if the behavior will be repeated or will not be repeated. Reinforces, which are the responses from the environment that increases your chances of repeating that action. For instance, you're a caveman, you're shaking a tree, and pineapples start to drop from the tree. That positive reinforcement will increase your chances of shaking the tree again. Punishers, which are negative operants, that will decrease your chances of repeating the action. Well, brands can't punish you or give you a spanking. They can only use the reinforcement cycles. One of the core reasons people keep buying from the same brands is exactly this. Victoria Kay, who is a lecturer in Durham University Business School, analyzed this phenomenon and published a paper. She states brands use operant conditioning by reinforcing desired consumer behaviors with the rewards, leading to habitual purchases and loyalty. That not only gives a potential customer to become an actual paying customer, but it also keeps a buyer to continue buying from that same exact brand instead of trying the competitor's products. Those rewards and reinforcements happen in two ways: reward programs and gamification. Starbucks reward program, for example, gives free drinks after a certain number of purchases, which encourages the repeat visits. Luxury brands leverage this at a greater degree. Louis Vuitton's high spender benefit program is a great example. Regular customers who spend significant amounts with Louis Vuitton may be invited to VVIC, very important customer tier. Once they get into that tier, quote-unquote rewards program, they get private shopping sessions, personalized fashion consultations, exclusive gifts, and invitations to runway shows and brand events. They get the tailored attention and unique brand experiences. Just imagine, you're a person with a ton of money, and what you lack is validation, and that's what they give to these customers. Gamification is another way of triggering reinforcement. Consumers are motivated not just by the reward, but by the sense of achievement tied to that gamified process. Gamification creates habits by involving reward cycles that consumers look forward to. Positive reinforcements in gamification, such as earning points, unlocking tiers, was found to effectively shape consumer behavior. For instance, Duolingo uses streaks and rewards to make it more addictive and makes the app more gamified. Some brands are built on gamification. Mostly apps fall into that category. Or look at e-learning platforms like School or Udemy. If you ever bought a course online, you know they send you messages on how you're progressing in that specific course. That is a sort of gamification as well. That increases your activity in the app, that makes you become a loyal customer to that internet product. Companies become a brand through years of advertising, and the effects of those advertisements can be observed by fMRI scans. fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging, is an imaging scan that shows activity in specific areas of your brain. This is your brain, and if certain areas of your brain lights up, that means there's an increased blood flow to that area, just like flexing your muscles. If you do a bicep curl, more blood will rush to that area. Brain works the same way, and in neuropsychology, certain areas of the brain are associated with certain desires and certain behaviors. Stephen D and his colleagues examine how brands in advertisements influence their thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. When participants shown a luxury brand, the following parts of their brain showed activity: ventromedian prefrontal cortex and medial orbifrontal cortex. These are also known as reward centers, which tend to fire up when high social status like wealth and dominance is in discussion. In contrast, when the participants were shown a cheaper car brand, the superior frontal gyrus and the anterior cingulate cortex showed activity, which are more related to attention and decision making. There's no one right answer to take away from the study, because there are billion-dollar companies in both ends of the spectrum. For instance, we have Toyota, they sell cheap cars, but they're a billion-dollar company, and we have Gucci, Prada, Dior, which are billion-dollar companies as well, which sell really expensive bags and clothing. However, what we can take away from the study, when brands show social status in their advertisement, or they are more quote-unquote social status driven brand, customers make that buying behavior with a different parts of their brains. We can say that is not very logical, but hey, buying a $1,000 bag is never a logical decision. There you have it. If you like this breakdown and want more scientific marketing and branding content, please give me a subscribe. I will see you again in the next one.